going down, baby. We are not in the lounge right now. We are where we at exactly? Where we
We
at,
are
CJ?
mobile headquarters, PSMT RPBJJ,
Yes, sir.
4553 North Loop 1604. This is the
Man,
dungeon, the temple.
this is where it all goes down, huh?
It sure is,
where
man.
you put in this work, man. This is insane to have you a part of this podcast, man. This is damn near unreal, man.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Man?
Nice to meet you.
Appreciate you being a part of the podcast, showing some support.
Of course.
City grown legends, only right for us to plug in with the city. You feel
Exactly.
me? Tell us a little bit more about your growing up here in the city of San Antonio. How did you get into fighting and stuff like that?
Yeah, of course. So I've been here in San Antonio for the better part of 16 years. Originally, I'm from the border south, Laredo, and my dad's job brought us up here. But, you know, I've had a lot of love for martial arts since I was a child. You know, I was involved in karate as a kid, things like that. But always was very afraid of combat and confrontation, and so over the years I was looking for ways to overcome, you know, that fear. I came across mixed martial arts as a young like adolescent. I was like maybe 12 or 13 and fell in love with it, but again was just so afraid to get involved in it because of my fear of confrontation. But
Facts, I understand.
as a high schooler, I started up a fight club with a lot of my classmates and from school as a freshman, you know. So I'm a freshman finding different fields and parks to have backyard fights at.
So y'all the ones who's setting up all this stuff during school, and then after school everyone's all going over to your spot.
Yeah, exactly. So we're matchmaking during third period and then finding a spot for Saturday afternoon to go pull up and throw some hands, you know.
That is
Meanwhile,
ridiculous.
I'm also like learning these things on YouTube, trying to find out how to do these techniques and stuff, and then trying to practice them. Eventually, you know, this thing kind of got out of hand because people started catching on to it, ended up on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah. What kind of hurdles did you have to jump through? Because I'm pretty sure once that started to pick up a little bit, people started to come through and pull up that you probably didn't want them to pull up.
Yeah, that's exactly what started to happen. But what kind of helps out is at the time, dude, a lot of the guys that I was rolling with were kind of like these wild cowboys hanging out over in Helotes, right? So we kind of kept everybody else at bay. But the problem that really took me out of that whole situation was my parents finding out, you know, and they freaked out on me.
Yeah.
But I was like I was working out every day because I was trying to like be in shape to do this stuff. And they saw how dedicated I was to working out. I'm like, I could transfer this over and be legit if you guys help me out with this. So finally, I was put in a gym as a senior in high school, and I trained at a gym, you know, a local gym here. It's no longer open for a year or two, and then that's when I came across Pete. I was only 19 when I met Pete, and Pete was almost, you know, he had already done a lot of major things in his career, but was still, I want to say Pete was like 34, 35. I was like 19.
That's insane. We definitely go pick up in between all of this, man. But 19 is when you started. 31 is when you had your epic fight just recently in March here in San Antonio.
Correct.
UFC San Antonio. What a hell of a fight that was, man. Tell me a little bit more before I do got a little bit I want to show you as well, but tell me a little bit more. How was that training camp and preparation for that fight? Because previously I think you had lost, and then you had to come back for a big time fight.
Yeah, with this camp, this camp was almost like, the whole thing was kind of cinematic because I was coming into the last fight on my contract, you know, down to 1-2, and the fight before this fight, I not only got submitted, but I also missed weight for the second time for the UFC. So, you know, I had to have a real humbling conversation with my coaches, where they kind of were telling me, like, this is it, like, this is your last shot. If you mess this up, you might as well. It's going to be a while before you're able to get back in the UFC. So for me, I had to do a deep look in the mirror about some changes I had to make in myself. And then I've always trained hard, but just a couple of different habits that I needed to shift around.
And those small habits are very important because those are the differences between you probably can tell your wins or losses. Or is there a difference that you can see? Because a lot of people train hard as hell, man. It ain't nobody that's not training hard. But what is the difference that you can see that from a win and a loss perspective.
Yeah,
of
that's
camp.
a good point you bring up. Those little differences make a huge difference at the end, right? So it all like stacks up, little bricks stack up to make the house. So Pete
Talk to him.
actually has a very good point. He always tells me, he's like, when you do everything correctly, since you've been in the UFC, you always win. So you have 2 losses. Both those losses you missed weight.
Correct.
The 2 times you made weight, you won. And
Correct.
it's not like I'm eating cheeseburgers and drinking the whole camp or anything like that. It's just that I expect too much on fight week for how much weight I'm trying to cut, because I put this weird false security into being the bigger guy when I get into the octagon, meaning if I cut more weight fight week, I'll be bigger when I get in. And even if you are by 4 or 5 pounds, it doesn't really matter if you don't have the gas tank to push you through.
That makes sense. I always wondered that as well, because
Right.
you see some people like, oh, he didn't make weight or whatnot, so they feel like that's almost an advantage for the other fighter in a sense.
It
In a
really
sense,
is.
it? Yeah.
It turns out to be that way, because you kind of try to dry out all the water from your body over the
Correct.
course of 3-4 days. You're losing 16 pounds, right? And then you try to put it all back on in 30 hours to go in there and fight for your life. It just doesn't. It's funny, man, because like it makes sense from the outside, but it wasn't until I lived through that experience a couple times and came out on the wrong end of it that I realized like I have to do this a little differently.
Hell yeah, man. Tell us a little bit more about the beginning of this fight and how things went down.
Landed that first spinning heel kick he was southpaw. He stepped into orthodox, which closes the range before throwing the kick. So the first few kicks that he had thrown it from just a conventional stance, and I was able to read it every time, and he missed them. But that last one, he stepped in from a different stance, closing that range off, and was able to clip me.
Yeah.
And from there, I was on skates, and I didn't even realize that I was hurt. I thought that I had slipped until I saw the look in his eyes. I was like, oh no, he's trying to kill me right now.
Yeah,
I think I'm hurt.
that is crazy.
And I had never had this experience to think to myself to turn and run, but man, I've gotten a lot of feedback on good sides and bad sides. You know, I mean, it's been funny to see all the memes and stuff. But in the heat of the moment, man, when you're in battle, you either float or you fall. You float or you drown. So to me, the only thing I could think of was I need to get away from this guy because he's chasing me right now.
Exactly.
And he kept clipping me every time he got close enough. He was
and
clipping
trying
me
to
again.
attack.
So man, I just got out of there, and my legs. I think because I ran so much this camp, I was putting miles and miles and miles.
You were able to move.
My legs helped me up. They helped me up, man.
Man, that was amazing. I ain't gonna lie to you. I felt like that was damn near the right thing to do. So I was like, you just like anybody else, what you want to just get on there and clinch, and then he's got you now.
No,
so
exactly.
Get the hell out the way for a little bit until you like kind of got out of that phase, man. It looks like you were like stunned for a minute, and then you're trying to get it back, and that shit is crazy. Like going from like a regular state of mind into that, like you said, that's not something you kind of like train for. But how did you, in a sense, knew what to do and like how to handle that, man?
Yeah, and that's a good point. You say you can't really train for how I was going to like reposition myself to land a shot on him.
That is crazy.
You know?
That's love, man, and that's nothing but heart and nuts. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for that, but bro, that shit, okay. that was a lot of nuts, man, because you could have folded, could have been like curled up at that time, and that would have been, he was already trying to get you. So for you to escape out of there, man, what are some of the things that once you got out of that round, man, when you got back in the corner, tell me what was going through your mind, and what can you hear your coaches? Can you hear the crowd? What's going on?
So I could hear the crowd. This is one of the first times I've fought where the crowd was so loud. It was like inside of my eardrums. My drums were like vibrating from what was going on. So man. I get to the corner. I never sit down in between rounds. I like to stand up, but my coach, again, he was like, sit down. He yelled at me, So I sit down, and he started to, I can hear him. Yeah. And what happens with me sometimes, I've only been in one other fight where I got damaged, where if I get damaged enough, I kind of go into this like rage state where I don't really listen anymore. I was trying to stay out of that. So my coach is telling me that this guy's gassed. He threw everything he's got at you, and you're still here. That was a 10-8 round. So you're down bad right now. So you got to come out there and you got to start putting it on him. So for me, I've always kept the mindset that in this game you have to have a short memory. So if you just got clipped 5 seconds ago, you got to let that go. Because if you're holding on to that, you become fearful. You'll get clipped with the same thing again.
Exactly. Dang, that's like sports or basketball where you got to have that short-term memory just in general.
Right.
And that's kind of dangerous. You're going out there like, all right, man, we seen it. Now we got to be aware of it, and we got to be aware of something else he might throw at us. Insane fight from one of your fighters. Tell me what's going through your mind as you watch him perform and even take that hit, man. What's going on?
Man, so it was nuts. It was nuts. I was going crazy in the corner.
Yeah.
But, you know, I knew going in that all that guy had was one good round. So when he got clipped, you know, I kind of had to get on him a little bit in the corner. I was like, yo, stop circling out like that because you circling into his kick. Like,
Yeah.
stop doing that.
Yeah.
I said, now, the round is over. He gave you everything he had.
Yeah.
That's a 10-8 round. We down. It's your turn to go get it.
Yeah.
Now go get it because I know he had that dog in him, so
Yep.
he had to go get it.
Yep. Yeah, and he shit, to say the least, it was a whole nother fire coming out. That's why I was like, whoa, what was said between these rounds for him to, come out and be like, oh, man, this could get a little dangerous, because oftentimes when you see a fighter, get hit like that, you're in trouble maybe for the rest of the damn fight. You're like, uh-oh, unless, that passion from the fighter could swing it. And he came out as a whole new fighter.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at him in the corner, man. His eyes are bugged out. So I knew he was zoned in and focused on what I was telling him.
Yeah.
And, I just needed him to stop making the mistakes that he was making in the first round. And I knew it was going to be over. As soon as he got him down on the ground, I said, that's it.
Yeah.
He gonna keep on
Pounding
until the ref stops it. He ain't going to stop. Because I've seen him in that position before.
Yeah,
Once he gets you down, he ain't finna let you up. He finna listen to them cues from the referee that's telling him that he's basically about to stop it. And that's when he gonna pour it on.
And I knew that if I just continued to push the pace, he was gonna unravel. And I can hear my coaches saying the same thing from the corner too. So it's like, and I'm listening to the referee. So the referee has different cues, So when I was hurt, the referee, if the referee is saying, for instance, hey, I need you to defend yourself or I'm going to stop the fight, that means it's bad. But if the referee was saying, because he was telling me, like, CJ, keep defending yourself. I need you to keep defending yourself. Okay, so I'm defending myself, so I need to just keep doing what I'm doing. But with him, he started saying, and I don't speak Portuguese, but I've been around Brazilians enough to, like, pick up little things in here.
That's crazy.
So when I started ground and pounding, the referee was like, hey, get out of there or improve your position. And then he started saying, like, Daniel, get out of there. Daniel, I need you to do something. And so I knew, oh, shit,
you got
this
the
fight
momentum.
is getting close to being stopped right now. And I just had to turn it up and turn it up and turn it up. And then I could hear the crowd turning. I mean, it was so insane, man.
Oh, man.
It was so insane. It was the second fight of the night. So it's early in the card, but there was, like, I would say, like, at least 10,000 people were already in there.
And they were going nuts, man. The momentum, like I said, my biggest question was, if you can hear that crowd, when you like even stunned, can you hear that? And you like, man, they're in my ear.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It is. It's so exhilarating, man. It's such an exhilarating part of the fight game. And I'm glad that we've moved so far from the COVID era, because as much as I like the Apex Arena, there's no crowd in there. It's so quiet. And I love to feel the buzz of the people out there.
That's what you kind of do it for.
We're spectator. We're like the spectator sport,
That's what I'm talking about. So you ended up taking care of business, man, which is really dope. What can we expect next? Is there anybody that you're preparing for? Or you kind of just waiting for your next fight? Where things
That's how
looking
it works, man. We're just waiting for the next one. And usually, as history tells for the UFC, I've fought every 4 to 5 months. Okay. So we're expecting a late summer fight. The sooner the better, because even though like this momentum's so big from what I just did, as you know, the relevancy passes really quickly and it goes on to the next guy. So we don't want too much time to pass before taking another fight that way. Kind of the momentum that went from that last fight goes into the next one. And since I'm still younger in the UFC, I don't have any guys that I'm like, I want that guy. I have guys on Twitter sometimes calling me out, and I'm like, what are you doing, bro? We're not even making that much money for to be talking on Twitter. Get out of here. And like,
come on, keep putting in that work.
You got like 8,000 followers. Ain't nobody listening to what you got to say right now. Like, so, man, I just keep my head down, and my coaches tell me, they point, I shoot, so they bring somebody to the table, we sign the contract, and we get back to work.
That was dope, man. What was it like, and what did it mean for you to have that match in San Antonio? There's a lot of fight cards that you've been a part of, but this had to be one of your biggest ones that you had right here in San Antonio.
Yeah, man, for sure. And that was another thing that my coach and I had a conversation about, where it was just kind of like a very like deep breath moment where he was like, this is it, the last dance situation here, and it's in San Antonio. And I've always wanted to fight here, man, but the UFC's only been here twice, so I wasn't really holding my breath to fight in San Antonio. I thought maybe once I get super popular, I can start telling the company, like, come bring it over here. But just so happened, man, they brought it here for this card. And to do that and to have it play out the way that it did was just such a poetic view into, like, I guess what the way my careers look like, because I've said this a few times, but the beginning of my career was just kind of stained with injuries. I had 7 surgeries in the first 4 years of my career, from hand breaks to ACL surgery to shoulder surgery. I mean, everything.
Damn.
So, you know, for the fight to play out, like having to overcome adversity and kind of taking licks and bumps and then having to bounce back like that. I mean, man, it was so incredible.
That is insane. And you seem like you've been fighting for a while. I also seen that it looks like you had an invite from Dana White to kind of make that break into the industry in a sense. How the hell did Dana White find you? And how did you kind of make that plug and connection?
I've been fighting for this. I had been fighting for this regional organization called Fury for a few years, and but like I said, I would have a good fight, and then I'd injure something, so I'd have to slow down. So finally, in 2019, I went on a 4-fight finish streak where I finished 4 guys in a row.
Nice.
And after the second one, the UFC was like, "Oh shoot, he's doing something." The matchmakers had already told Pete, like, just keep him healthy enough, long enough to get him a few wins, and we'll get him in. That last fight of that streak that I'm talking about was a title fight for the regional, for the Fury title against the guy from Houston in Houston. Him and I had this crazy back and forth war that was kind of similar to this fight. He hurt me a couple times in the first round. I came back and knocked him out in the third round. And that fight kind of blew me up from the regional scene into that position to go for the Dana White Contender Series.
Dang.
And when I got to the Dana White Contender Series, I took that dude out of the fight in 40 seconds. So they were like, "Yeah, you're in."
Come on.
You know
That's what's up. That's what's up. Man, you're doing a hell of a job and everything. I definitely want everyone to plug in. Make sure y'all follow CJ on all platforms. That's for damn sure. You're not going nowhere yet, man. Tell me a little bit more about your goals. I know that was definitely one of your bigger goals in front of you, but what is something that you ultimately want to have when you look back at the end of your career, man?
Right now, I really want to continue to progress in my jiu-jitsu career, you know, so I'm a blue belt right now. I want to get up to the purple belt, brown belt, black belt eventually.
Crazy.
And then this year, I'd like to fight at least 2 more times. You know, we'll see exactly how it goes. But, I mean, 4 fights in a year would be amazing. But if it could be 3, that'd be great, too. And, you know, I try not to overlook the next step very much, you know. In the end, my goal has always been to be a champion. I didn't just come here to participate, you know. So the goal is to be a champion. But right now, it's just continuing to improve because there is no easy fights in the UFC. Everybody's tough. Everybody's great at what they do. So this guy, his spinning attacks for next level. The next guy might have the craziest wrestling or the best jiu-jitsu or the best boxing. So I'm having to just keep myself spread out enough to improve on all aspects and just continue to rack up wins, man. Because in this game, as quickly as you blow up is as quickly as you burn out. You know, it's crazy.
And
dude.
you see
and
it
that's
all
like
the time.
all sports, right? Like you're hot one day and the next day you're like nobody knows
running
who you are.
backs in football, all
it's
the
so
above.
crazy, man. So I'm just trying to, and the cool thing is, like, I don't try to be exciting. I'm just an exciting fighter naturally. You know, it's part of my personality. I'm just kind of like, I'm a little wild sometimes, man. So I go out there and I just fight.
Let's get it. Let's
get
it, man. That's dope. What would you tell kids? Because it was definitely a platform for everyone to tap in on. But what would you tell the kids that are trying to get into the game, or you know, kind of breaking into the mold a little bit?
Yeah, I actually had a meet and greet a couple weeks ago at True North SA, a shoe store here in San Antonio, and I had this young kid come up. He was 13, and we had this conversation. And to me, it's like, what's cool is like, you look at me, I'm not a huge guy. I also don't come from a line of athletes. You know, none of my family members were ever like collegiate athletes or pro wrestlers or fighters. I mean, anything like that. So to me, it was just, I found something that kind of set me on fire from the inside, where like all I could think about was this, and I shut everything else out, man. I was only 17 when I decided that this is going to be all I put my attention into. And along the way, with all these injuries and stuff, I had a lot of people that love me, people that care for me, that were trying to tell me, like, reason with me, like, hey man, I know that you like this, but your body isn't holding up right now, and maybe you should plan B because you're having to work 3 jobs, and I had a kid at 18 too, so but for me, it was never about, am I going to make it? It was just, when am I going to make it? Because I hear all these rappers and other successful artists talk about, it'll take you 15 years before they think you made it overnight. And that's exactly what it was, man. I'm 31, like you said, and I had my first big overnight moment where now I'm like, people are like, where'd you come from? It's like, man, I've been coming up from this for a while. So I always tell kids, dude, if you find something you love, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, because if you're setting yourself up with purpose every day, it's going to unravel and turn into something that eventually will financially take care of you. I feel like you feed your spirit long enough and it pays your pocket out eventually, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah, man. And that's more than the truth, man. And I that's exactly the podcast as well. You know, slowly grinding, and then boom, they go like, dang, that happened overnight.
Right.
Y'all, you interviewing CJ, you doing all this happened overnight. Like, oh man, a little bit here and there, kinks and stuff we gotta work out. But speaking of overnight moment, your fight was fight of the night for the whole card, man.
Right.
What the hell?
Right.
What did that mean for you to have the fight of the night for that event at UFC?
My second fight for the UFC against this other Brazilian guy was also a really good fight. And there was whispers that fight was almost fight of the night, but this fight, even though I was second fight of the night, when I left that octagon, I was like, man, nobody's gonna top that tonight.
Yeah,
like, there's just no way. There's just no way. Unless somebody does the exact same thing on the main card, it's just not gonna happen. But that doesn't happen very often.
And
When you get a killer like that gets somebody in trouble, dude, it's hard to get these guys off of you. And like, for me to survive the way that I did, like, it just, there's like, people are already saying like that was comeback of the year, and it's gonna hold up for a while. Man.
Yeah,
you just don't see stuff like that at this level.
I was gonna say that as well. It damn sure should be comeback of the year as well. Again, if you seen like I seen it, I thought it was just an ass whooping by CJ.
Yeah. Dude, like, if you watch an NBA game and it's halftime and it's like 30-60, they ain't coming back.
No,
you know
you're like, oh, that's it.
now,
Let me turn the channel, and then you come back. You're like,
right.
what?
Exactly.
They winning? So man, that's dope. I know you into sports, man. Before you get out of here, I definitely want to get some of your personal interests as well. Our San Antonio Spurs ain't doing too hot this season.
I know, man.
It's all good. Hopefully we get some good draft picks to get going. But what are some of the other sports you're into and stuff
Dude,
like that?
I always get super into the NFL when the NFL comes around. I love watching Lamar Jackson play football. And I've been in the Ravens since I was younger. By association and family, I've been a Cowboys fan my whole life. And that was cool in the 90s, you know what I mean? But it's been tough lately. But, you know, it was kind of rough to see Ezekiel Elliott go. But, I mean, maybe it's time to move on to something else. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, man, I love the NFL. I know my coach is a huge 49ers fan. I like to hate on him a little bit with the Cowboys and 49ers rivalry.
That's about right.
You know, and then my brother played basketball his whole life, so he's always plugging me into like the hot dudes on the court and stuff like that. You know, I'm a fan of competition, man. I love watching people compete at the highest level too.
You ain't been invited to the Spurs game yet?
Yeah, man. So the Spurs actually announced me like 2 weeks before my fight. I went out there, I had floor seats. They put me on the camera, you know, welcomed me. I did a little shadow boxing on camera.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So it was cool to kind of build like that connection with them. And hopefully they don't move to Austin. That's what the whispers are. Have you heard about that?
I heard about that. I'm hoping that it's more or less a to play some games there in Austin, but I don't know. I hope they don't move.
Because they would have to build a whole new arena, wouldn't they?
There's nowhere to play there.
We got $20K here at AT&T. I'm pretty sure.
AT&T, and then we still have the
dome.
The dome, and I'm the Alamo Dome. And I'm like, what the heck? And y'all did a hell of a job in the Alamo Dome, huh?
Yeah.
Man,
I think there's like 50,000 people there, dude. It's insane.
It was crazy. So, man, I really appreciate you. Make sure I'll tap in with CJ. I wanted to give you a hat as well, brother.
Sick, man.
So this is definitely one of our plug hats that we got going on.
Appreciate you, bro.
Definitely rock that bad boy when you put
Absolutely.
in that work as well. We definitely want to chop it up with Pete as well, but make sure everybody tap in with you, CJ. How can they follow you and tap in and plug in?
Yeah, sure
with
thing.
You
guys can find me on Instagram, CJ Vergara 91, Twitter, CJ Vergara 1991. And that's where I'm usually, right? I stay more active on IG, trying to keep people updated with what's coming up with fights, training, different methods to the madness, you know?
Hell yeah. And, man, I appreciate you plugging in. We always going to be supporting.
Of course.
I hate that we didn't support way before. It's so funny you mentioned that you were working at Shenanigans and things like that, man. So that's insane.
I was trained. I was bar backing from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then I'd cross the streets at Gold's and work out till 5:30, and then go get some sleep and then wake up and train. It was crazy, man.
The fact that you still had the vision at that time and you didn't let the work and other people distract you is insane. What kept your mind straight before I let you go? What kept you on that same path? You know what I'm saying? Because work, kids,
right,
money, bills.
It was always. It's always been like. since I've always had such a wild imagination. So
Yeah,
to kind of holding
same.
on to that childlike sense of imagination on like what could be, always kept me there because my vision of who I was working towards becoming was so much bigger than who I was in the moment. So like I
Yep.
knew like even though I'm scraping by right now, this isn't always going to be the case. And I think that sometimes people get so kind of drugged down by where they are in the moment that they can't really see what's beyond that valley, you know what I mean? And for
Correct.
me, I was always able to see in my mind's eye this great place of doing what I love and being comfortable financially and just overall having a set up life. And now, even when I did get to the UFC, I kind of got back into this like self-doubt thing. Was like, well, what if this doesn't work out? And I
Correct,
got this
correct,
far
correct.
just to get this far, but I still tussle with that. I feel like you never really get over that.
Yeah, that's crazy because I feel the same way with my endeavors and the plug and everything. Comes to bills. I'm really should I just work? Should I
Right,
just give
yeah.
up? But then you just have that passion. You say it kind of sits there in your stomach and then in your eyes. You're like, nah, man, this is what I want, and I got to make this shit happen.
Yeah, man.
So that's dope that to kind of relate to you on that. And I'm like, dang, okay, we're going in the right direction.
It's true, man, and I feel like when you're moving in a direction that not many people have moved to, at times you're gonna feel alienated, like you're doing
Facts.
something wrong because like everybody's going that way, but
You like, what you doing over there? Nah, I don't know if
That's
that's
what
what
I'm
work
saying,
out
man.
for you. I don't know. But man, you defined odds. You defined all the odds. I appreciate you coming to be a part of the podcast. San Antonio's own CJ Vergara stepping in, plugging in, man. Nothing but a blessing. You keep
thanks for having
keep killing
thanks
me,
for having
man.
me, my boy. I
keep
appreciate you,
killing.
brother.
Hey man, we're gonna link up here very soon in the future and take care of some business. Maybe I can take you out for a drink.
Yeah, man,
and,
that'd be great.
and have you whoop everybody's
Yeah,
ass.
yeah.
I'm like, hey,
Start putting money on my head. dude.
yeah, start playing some Knuck If You Buck as I DJ and shit, and boom, have you get wild
Get
a little
busy,
bit.
yeah. Get active during Fiesta.
Just hit plug a couple times. But appreciate you,
Thank
man.
you, my
Best
guy.
of luck
It's a pleasure
in
to
the
hang out with
future
you.
as well, and definitely plug in with us. This is Plug Podcast number 50. Check us out. Peace.
Cheers.
Man, we ain't done yet. The Plug 50, I know they probably thought we were logging off. We ain't going nowhere, man. We still want to catch up with Pete himself, the owner of the gym, trainer of CJ Vergara as well. Excited to have you a part of the podcast as well, man. This is crazy, insane. We got a 2-for-1 special here.
Glad to be here, man.
Man, living legend, to say the least. This CJ is one of your fighters, but you also have a female woman fighter as well that took the championship, I
She
believe,
won
the previous.
Fury bantamweight amateur title.
There you go, and that
Yeah.
was on Saturday or was it Friday
Friday.
night?
That was on
Friday.
Friday for
Wow,
Fury,
what a
yeah.
weekend!
Yeah, man, it was a good
What a
weekend.
weekend! I mean, y'all put in so much work. What is it? What is it that you can? It's we can't see it, but what can you tell us about how important it is for that work, so you can get those kind of results, such as CJ and your other fighters?
Bro, it's like the way we put in work here at the gym is going to be the hardest that it's going to be. So once you
There
get
you
in
go.
a fight and you get put in an uncomfortable situation, it's familiar to you because you've had it done to you in the gym. And for me, if you haven't been taxed in the gym,
Yeah,
then you're not going to know how to react in the fight.
facts.
That's
facts.
why CJ able to recover.
And that was super impressive. That's why I said when he got out the way and he didn't let his legs get away from him,
Yeah.
and he was able to go ahead and get on that bike for a minute. He was like, "That's the train. That's running. That's cardio.
Yeah.
That's your air." Even
Yeah.
though you may not know it at that time, but
He's had it in the gym.
Yeah.
Like CJ was a kid when he started with me, and I was still competing at the time.
yeah, yeah.
So he was getting the best of grown men when he was just a pup.
That's yeah.
So CJ's been with me like 13 years now.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
He knows what's expected of him. He's been through the fire. A lot of the new people I got, they ain't been through. Like
Yeah.
I'm old now, so they ain't really getting.
no,
they ain't
yeah.
really getting the prime.
That's just
peak.
that's just like pops. When you get pops real young and then you
Yeah.
get pops real older, a little bit
Exactly.
older.
Like they ain't getting the one that CJ got. Like
Yeah.
they getting a little something, but they ain't getting what CJ got. CJ got some of prime coach, bro.
That's what's up. And Coach Pete, you've also, been in your own. You were talking about stay away from the kick. I heard you were a hell of a kicker yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been plenty of bodies laying on the floor in this gym from that left kick.
That's why I definitely heard about the kick. I've heard a lot about the kick, man. Tell us a little bit more about your experience in fighting and UFC and things like that. And,
Yeah, man, I came up, man, when it was called NHB, no holds barred.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I used to fight in Texas. Like in Texas, you couldn't strike the face with a closed fist. It would have to be open fist. But at the same time, you can knee a person in the head on the ground.
Yeah.
You can kick a person in the head. Like if I can knee and kick somebody in the head, why can't I
Why
punch
can't
them with a closed fist?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
wait a minute.
So, but yeah, man, like I came up in that era, man, and they say, I'm an OG or whatever.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I came up when it was raw. And actually, I remember I was a freshman in college, 1992. I was a freshman in college watching the first UFC, 93. I think 93 was the first UFC.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it on TV. I was like, I would never, ever in my life do that.
Oh, man, yeah.
Turns around, I end up making a career out of doing exactly what I said I wouldn't do.
It was different because in the 90s, I seen a lot of wrestling. And then I noticed Ken Shamrock was like one of the first like wrestlers to kind of break through into, that kind of UFC and fights like that. Tell us a little bit more about that, the growth of it that you see now compared to where it was in the beginning.
Man, the growth is crazy. Like in the beginning, it wasn't little kids saying, I want to grow up to be an MMA fighter because MMA didn't exist.
Correct.
So, now what we see with the evolution of sport and what we see now is we see kids 8, 9 years old that already have ambitions of being a mixed martial artist when they grow up.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference right there. You've got a lot of competitive athletes. Like I was one of the first athletes to cross over into mixed martial arts because I played football and ran track in college.
Okay.
So I was one of the first people to do that and transition over to this mixed martial arts thing. And then you started to see other athletes, as the sport revolutionized itself, but I was one of the first to cross over from a different sport.
That's insane that you say that because it seemed like you would have that wrestling or boxing background. What made you get into the physical combat? I mean, I can say football is not, physical and things like that, but this is a whole different aspect. You know what I'm saying? This ain't just running around dodging. This is a whole different aspect. How was that transition for you?
I mean, it was cool. I mean, I was a graduate assistant at my alma mater, Southeastern Oklahoma State University.
That's what's up.
And I quickly saw on Sunday when we were doing film study and game planning and all that stuff, I said, I don't want to coach football.
Yeah.
So what can I do to still be an athlete, a professional athlete, and be able to appease my appetite for contact?
Yeah.
And I drifted into, because I was boxing. I won Golden Gloves when I was a junior in college. So I was boxing Golden Gloves. Karate and kickboxing was my thing in the off season to stay in shape in the off season. And it was just kind of natural transition. And I was training with a couple of guys, and I started beating those guys after a couple of months that had been training for a lot longer than I have. And I just fell right into it.
That's what's up. And then you just kept rolling. And then what kind of made you get out? Because I know you were, fighting for a little while, and then you kind of took a step out of it.
I mean, I was old. I mean, that was basically it. I was old,
You're like, all right, it's time to hang them up.
Yeah, man. I got old. I lost a couple of fights. I lost a decision here in town, and then I lost another fight to another guy by KO, and I was like,
You're like, okay,
that's probably it.
That's what say, hey, you know when it's best for you, man.
Yeah.
And then as far as the coaching stuff goes, how long you've been coaching and you're not getting the same thrill, or are you getting the same thrill that you were getting when you were fighting?
I get the same thrill. It's just a little bit different. When I was fighting, I really didn't get nervous.
Correct. Yeah, that's dope.
I get nervous when I watch the people that I train fight.
Yeah.
I get a little antsy. I get a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But that right there is really the only difference, man. But it's good to see, what I teach translate over into the cage, and to see them to be able to have success and be able to build a career if that's what they want to do, or if they just want to do it just occasionally, just to jump in there as something on their bucket list. I'm just glad to be able to give some people some knowledge to fulfill some goals.
Man, yeah, this is insane. And as far as you like coaching and things like that, is it open to the community? Can the kids, be a part of it? How can they plug in with you and try to plug in with Coach potentially, see if they can work out with you?
We have a great kids jiu-jitsu program. I used to have a kids Muay Thai program that kind of fell to the side a little bit, especially when COVID happened. But when we built our new facility that's just across the parking lot from
I
here.
seen that.
Yes.
That's you guys right
So,
here.
yeah, so
Oh,
once we build
man.
the new facility, we're gonna get everything back up and running, and we're gonna
Okay.
be training the kids for Muay Thai and everything, and it's gonna be it's gonna be a nice transition from being in this spot.
Damn, that's what's up. That hey, the growth is crazy.
Yes, sir.
There's two things that I don't want this question to escape my brain,
Okay.
so I got to give this one to you. So the other one may come back, it may not. But I know boxing is very known for it in the city, man. We got Mario. We have a lot of great fighters,
Yeah.
boxing wise. UFC started, or mixed martial arts is starting to make some noise as well. What do you think about mixed martial arts and boxing and combat sports in the city of San Antonio in general?
I mean, it's good, man. There's a bunch of great young boxers here in San Antonio. Like, I've been a fan of Mario's for a while.
Nice.
I've been watching him for a long time, and then you got Bam.
Yep.
And
yep.
I've been around boxing for a long time. Like, actually, when I first moved to San Antonio, Jesse James Leah was my boxing coach.
Oh, that's what's up.
And so CJ, kind of following in my path, he trains with Leha as well.
Nice,
So,
nice.
I'm really big on it. James wanted me to box professionally. I was like, nah. I don't
Yeah. It seemed like that would have been a little closer transition. Your ass just jumped in there and said, I want it all.
Yeah,
Let's get it.
It's just the training and the headaches that I would have after the hard sparring sessions. So I figured, I would be a training partner for one of his guys whenever he was getting ready for fights, and whenever I was getting ready for fights, they would in turn return the favor. So it was
dope.
a good partnership and relationship that we had with James.
That's dope, man. That's really cool to know, man. The city of San Antonio is just going crazy with combat sports. I was excited that we had that UFC here in San Antonio. Definitely highlighted the city just majorly, and then we having boxing always showing love as well. So the city is flourishing with combat sports. So definitely y'all plug in with Coach Pete as soon as possible, man. Before I do let you go, as far as kids and motivation, I'm always looking for that motivation part of it. What's some good advice that you can give kids or even other people that look, to do this, own a gym and train others and, things of that nature?
I mean, it's just naturally, man, just if you find something that you love, whether it's mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, cooking, whatever the case may be, if you love it, continue to do it and build with it.
Yeah.
And, like my daughter, she's very interested in culinary. Do your thing. She can bake her little butt off.
See there?
I'll be waiting on them cookies whenever she decides she want to bake. But yeah, if you find something that you love and then you enjoy, man, because if you love what you do, it will never be work for you.
Seriously, and that's the best way you can definitely say it, man. Definitely tap in with us. Of course, Coach, we got to get you a hat as well, man. You can't let you go without having. I need y'all to be plugged out everywhere y'all go. Let them know that y'all represent, y'all plugged in. My plug, everyone always asks me, right? Hey, man, you the plug? You the plug? I said, man, listen here. The plug just for me is my outlet. You know what I'm saying? So I do my podcast. I have my clothing, and I love to DJ. These are my outlets. And God being the source, I'll just being the plug to it, So that's what you guys are doing, more than that for the city, and being the plug for the city, representing like this is insane. More glory and God glory to you guys. Keep hustling, keep doing what y'all do. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to join the Plug Podcast for real, man.
Yes, sir. And this is even my favorite color.
Hey, we in the building. We in the building. That's what. So I'm gonna see that often. They like, oh, here you go. You got that hat on again.
Yes, sir.
But appreciate y'all, man. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. This is the Plug 50. We out.